Yaya Menteng Sanyang, National Assembly member for Latrikunda, was the one who came up with the follow-up question relating to the government's inability to act on the High Court judgment to settle ex-soldiers' claims, Omar Sajo. On July 5th, 2025, the Gambia Journal published an article in which you were quoted to have intervened during a parliamentary question and answer session.
That's
The
correct.
headline of the article read, Defense Minister declares High Court ruling on dismissed officer not executory. In
That's
your
correct.
in your understanding or your reading of law, what does it tell you?
Okay, thank you very much, Ibrahima. I thank your audience as well. Well, this Ibrahima is a this Sajo. What's the name again?
Omar Sajo.
This Omar Sajo issue, I jovially say before the National Assembly, is as old as the National Assembly itself. This is the same question from the same National Assembly member for Fonyi Jarol. Keep asking minister this question, and the minister keep giving the same reaction or the same answer. Now, the minister is relying on a judgment. They have a judgment in hand, or they were served with a judgment. That judgment, which the minister fondly called declaratory judgment. The minister always said they have judgment, and but it is a declaratory judgment. It's not executory. Executory by sense if the court orders you on an executory judgment, it means it is a coercive order, and it is very, very, very enforceable. You have no other option but to enforce the judgment, because it is a coercive order. It's a direct order. It's a very clear order without ambiguity. Yeah, for declaratory judgment, in most cases, declares a legal right of an individual. And also, declaratory judgment to an extent also establishes legal relationship between parties. By way of that, for the two parties to avoid further remedies. Now, I'm not very familiar with the facts of Umar Sadio's case. The only knowledge I have about Umar Sadio's case is always when a question is raised in the floor of the parliament by Fonyi Jarol, National Assembly member. If I see the facts of the judgment, no, and also if I see the facts of the case that leads to the judgment, then I can be able to advise myself legally to be able to see to what extent is this particular declaratory judgment is. But for me to go back to it in real terms, executory judgment are very cohesive, and they are very enforceable. You must enforce them. But for declaratory, yes, I agree. It declares a legal right. But under this circumstance, what the minister failed to understand is this is an employee of the Gambia Armed Forces who went to the court and who went to the court and was able to obtain declaratory judgment. So if I'm the minister, I'm not further allowed myself to be ridiculed before the floor of the National Assembly. I will simply reinstate. And if you looked at that declaratory judgment, if my memory could serve me well, I don't want to get it wrong. That's why I say I could have familiarized myself with the particular judgment. But it's like he should be reinstated. But what the minister tell us historically, time and time again, is they also send the files or the judgment to the Attorney General chambers for advice. And that was where I interfere, where I intervene. I told the minister, when a judgment is given to you, you don't seek another legal opinion on that judgment. What you do is always to appeal the judgment. If the judgment was obtained against you in the magistrate court, you go to the high court. If the judgment is obtained against you at the high court, you go to the court of appeal. If the court of appeal, if it is obtained against you, you go to the Supreme Court. That's why we have a courts in their layers. But you cannot be served a judgment and you send the judgment to people for their legal opinion without appealing. The best remedy for the minister or the course of action that the minister could have taken is to go and appeal the judgment if he's not satisfied.
Don't you think the minister is also latching onto something, knowing that the implications of the judgment and also trying to reason, maybe not only a mere delaying tactic, but the minister, there could be reason as to these two form tactical what we are using, declaratory judgment and then executory. I mean,
I don't know what is passing in the mind of the minister Ibrahim, and I don't want to be very speculative. I can only tell you the implication of the judgment. The only implication of the judgment is Ibrahim's right has been violated and he should be reinstated. That's the only implication of the judgment. His right has been violated and he should be reinstated.
There are two aspects of the judgment: reinstated and also compensated for the years that he has not been working. So, but it's also now up to Ibrahim, up to Omar Sadio to say, okay, he wants to be reinstated because maybe he thinks that he still have the feeling for the army.
Yeah, that is correct.
The other option is also for him to say he's no longer interested because he has been stigmatized.
That is exactly if a court orders you to be reinstated, you the person the court orders to be reinstated, you have every right to say, I want to work or I want to work. Because now if they want to force you to work now, there'll be forced labor before the law. You understand? So the courts can say reinstate an individual, but now is the discretion of that individual to go and work. If the individual refuses to go and, or if the individual said, I don't want to go and work there again, that is also his right and liberty to do so. But the court, the employer cannot also force the person to go and work. That would be categorized as forced labor under our laws.
As a legal practitioner, someone who has been called to the bar, what step do you recommend for Omar Sadio to proceed, since it has been lingering for too long, like you said, as old as the National Assembly itself?
To proffer a legal advice on something or an actionable case whose facts are not presented to you, to provide legal advice on that will be very difficult. The only thing I told you at the beginning of the conversation, I only know about Honorable Member Fofoni Jaroli's question and the minister's response to his question. But if you ask me, do you know anything about Ibrahim Sadio's case? I don't know. I can only know that as a lawyer, if I'm able to see the facts before me, if the facts are presented to me, then I'll be able to go through the facts and see the next line of action that Ibrahim can take to be able to remedy his rights. To answer this question, the only thing I don't want to be speculative when it comes in time of law, because it's very, very dangerous. This is going to be in records. So I want to dive this question to see if I can only answer if I'm able to see Ibrahim, Mr. Sadio's case and all the facts presented in the case, how especially the record of proceedings. The record of proceedings will be very, very important for me to see. A record of proceedings, I mean by way of that, I mean how the case was presented before the courts, how several motions how several motions were pushed before the courts, how they...
Well, I disagree with you. The fact that you said you have to have the facts available to you for you to understand and proffer advice. But then, look at Ibrahim's case, like you said, it has been lingering, and almost everybody in the Gambia has been not thoroughly informed, but it has been in the news that Ibrahim was allegedly fired from the army due to the fact that he is believed to be the son of a rebel leader in Cassamance, Salif Sadio. So you've heard about it in the news.
Yeah, those are not the only facts of the case, Ibrahim. Facts of the case are more than only a mere statement. All the evidences, evidences in the facts, all are part and parcel of the facts. So you are this, you are that, but I don't know how do you come to be as as you are, How does that happen? Facts of the case
So when you
it comprises everything, including evidences.
let me put it this way. When you initially heard about it in the news, what actually came to your mind? You still have to gather facts about it, or you think
I don't think I even had it through the news. I think I had this only in the flow of the parliament. And I said that at the beginning of the conversation. It's habitually a question from a honorable member for New Jarol. And the same question, he'll be asking, and the same response or the same answer the minister will be giving. So I don't think at any point in time I was able to here Ibrahim Musa, Mr. Sadio's case from a television, a radio, or a newspaper. I think the only time I read it from a newspaper, it was the article you sent me last week. So I don't think is that a popular, very, very popular case here where every citizen should know something about it. It's not a very popular case, Ibrahim.
Well, okay. On that note, what is your final take on this issue?
My final take on this is that when the ministers' court orders are meant to be obeyed, court orders are meant to be obeyed. Government should improve on obeying court orders. That is why we have courts. If the government refuses to uphold to court orders, it always creates anarchy, chaos in society. If you go to countries like Liberia, Sierra Leone, they have history of their governments not abiding to court order, and eventually citizens take the law into their own hands. What happened in those countries was eventually brutal civil war. So we want to avoid that situation in this country. Let government abide by all court orders, because government go if people take government to court, they defend their case through their state prosecutors. So if the state prosecutors put all their heart and minds in a particular case and lose it, so legitimately, the judgment, has followed all the due processes, because you were represented in the court by state prosecutors. So if the case collapse before your state prosecutor, the only thing you can do is to obey the courts, because courts are there to provide remedy for both the citizens and the government. Because if there's a society without courts, that society will be a highly snobbish society, where the powerful will kill the powerless, the rich will exploit the poor. The list can go on and on and on. So I advise the government to look at this case critically, especially is an army corporal whose salary is not that much, big. The government can immediately, pay the entire salaries, accumulatively, and that will not cost them millions to do so. But for the fact, it's more significant. It's so significant if government fail to obey court orders. That's more significant than the money that they may have that they may have in their minds. So my final thought on this is government to make sure Ibrahim, Mr. Sadio Rada, got his judgment properly.
All right.
Yeah, Umar Sadio Rada.
Thank you so much, Honorable Sanyang, for
Thank
taking
you, Ibrahim.
time to talk
Thank
to
you.
us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Stay tuned on this channel as we explore all the angles in this saga relating to Omar Sadio.